Deepfake is one of the most popular application of deep learning. But did you ever think why deepfake is getting the popularity? Let me tell you why deepfake is getting the popularity. Deepfake has the most magical application that can make a human fool. So, to learn about how deepfake works and what are the technology works behind it, let's get started with the new short video on how deepfake works. So first we will see what are deepfakes. Why it's gaining the popularity in the market, right? So the deepfake is basically the phenomenon gained its name from a user of platform Reddit. So Reddit is one of the most popular platform who went by the name deepfakes. But why it's called deepfakes, right? So if we divide that name that we got, that deep learning plus fakes, right? So these are the main two parts of calling this application as a deepfakes. So deep learning is the part of artificial intelligence, right? Like where we actually makes our brains works. So in this case, we actually in the deep learning we use our brain, right? So it's not a human brain; it's a machine brain. So we use machine brain. We make a like brain like human, and we use that to do some applications. So this is deepfakes is the application of deep learning. The first deepfake shared by that person were of unknowing celebrities with their faces attached to the bodies to monsters. The first target of deepfakes were famous people including actors like Emma Watson, singers Katy Perry and politicians President Obama. This is how deepfakes came into the picture, and these are the first very initial applications of deepfakes. Now we will have a look at what makes deepfakes so special and why we feel that deepfakes is one of the most coolest applications, right? So as good as original, deepfakes are very hard to distinguish from the original if we don't see it with our own eyes. Sometimes we believe it to exist or even to be true. So from this we actually can conclude that we can say that deepfakes can trick people into believing something. From the pictures, from the images, you can see that the difference between the original one and the generated one is very big. So in this case, if you don't know the person, so in that case maybe you can end up believing that this person actually exists. Now we will have a look at what's behind the deepfake. What is the algorithm we are using behind this deepfake? We already know deepfake is a part of deep learning, but what algorithm we use over there? So previously we used to do this like the changing the face or replacing some faces with bodies. What we do, we used to do the Photoshop. But the introduction of GANs changed the whole scenario. But what is GAN? GAN is basically generative adversarial network, and we will see how GAN works. So what is GAN? GAN is a generative adversarial network which has two parts. One is generator, one is discriminator, right? So what is generative? Describe how input can be generated from the input data set in terms of probabilistic model. So GAN is based on probability. Now we will see the adversarial part. Train the network in the adversarial way. It's two of types. We have two types. One is generator, one is discriminator. Now we will have a look at the network. So deep neural network are used for training purpose. So this is the scenario when we call this GAN. Why? What is the stands for G, A and N? So G is for generative, A is for adversarial way of train your model, and N is network, which is deep neural network. Right? In this, the note is that instead of predicting a level given certain features, they attempt to predict feature given a certain level. Right? Now we will have a look at how GANs works. GAN uses unsupervised process to discover and learn automatically from input data to generate new data from the original data set. So you can see in the image what we do, we first give a noise to our generator. So our generator first get a noise, but our generator does not have an idea about what is real image, right? Now our generator actually generates some samples from that. And what we give discriminator two parts. One is the generated image from generator, one is the real image. From that our discriminator used to say this is a real image and this is a fake image, right? So this is how GAN works. Now we will see about drill down to generator. So generative model in terms of probability, it uses a joint probability, right? So we all familiar with what is joint probability. So joint probability means likelihood of two events will happen at the same time. Two events should be independent to each other. That is, outcome of event X does not influence the outcome of event Y. So this is how our generator of the GAN actually works. And let me give you an example for that. Suppose two dice are there and rolling each one of them is not dependent on each other, right? So this is the terms actually we use in probability, that is a joint probability, and generator use that concept only. Now we will have a look at the generator objective, pros and cons. So basically the objective of generator is try to model the data generation and creates new data points from the given training data set. And what is the pros we have in the generator? Model have the proper knowledge on data distribution, so not, right? Cons, the large amount of data is needed, expensive to implement. So if we go for any GAN application, we need to have a large amount of data, right? And the process is actually expensive. So generative model learns the distribution of the data. It has a very good idea about what is your distribution of your training data set, right? Now we will have a look at discriminator, the second part of GAN. So discriminated model in terms of probability is a conditional probability. So basically GAN generator is a joint probability and discriminator is a conditional probability. So in the conditional probability, two events should be independent to each other. That is, outcome of X does not influence the outcome of Y. And conditional probability P of B, the probability of the occurred of event A given that B has already happened. So this is the concept behind the discriminator, right? Now we will have a look at the objective, pros and cons of the discriminator. So what is the objective of discriminator? The discriminator try to learn using probabilistic approaches. Pros, for to train a model is comparatively easy. Cons, tries to classify the data from the training set. So discriminated model learns the boundaries of the classes. So basically, if we take a look at the real scenario, so discriminator help us to understand what image is actually a real image and what image is actually a fake image, right? So in this case, we use generator for that. And with time, our generator and discriminator becomes very efficient. For that, our generator is able to make a data, image is like an actual image, right? And our discriminator is also become very efficient enough with time that discriminator can say, no, the image you have made, this is a fake image, the image I'm getting from the actual image, this is the true image, right? So this is how our GANs work. And with time, when we train our GAN, like with the generator and discriminator, the generator and discriminator are getting trained in a same time, right? So these are the key points of GAN. So now we will have a look at the steps are used in GAN. So the generator takes the random numbers. Yes, we put a noise to our generator and returns an image from them. So it returns an image that is a noise image, right? We get from the generator when we initially start our process. The generated image is then fed to discriminator alongside a batch of images taken from the actual ground truth dataset. So in the first case, we give discriminator two inputs. That is, one is generated image from generator and second one is from the actual real image. The discriminator takes both real and fake image and returns probabilities with 1 or 0. 1 is basically representing the prediction of image being authentic and 0 represents the image is fake. So in GANs, we have a double feedback loop, right? The discriminator of GAN is in the feedback loop with the ground truth of images which can already know, and the generator of GAN is in a feedback loop with the discriminator. So we use two loops, one is for generator, one is for discriminator. So this is how actually our defect works. So if you guys want to have more advanced content like this, then please subscribe Great Learning channel. So if you want to learn some advanced topic like this, then please go to Great Learning Academy platform where you will get almost 80 plus free courses, and after completing your course you can claim your certificate as well. And if you want to do these courses on your mobile application, that is also possible using Great Learning app. Thank you so much.